Okay. For those who are still drawing, continue to draw. You're not going to miss much. I'm just going to start with how to approach this painting. Um, as you can see here, what you see, there are so many shapes, and sometimes a painting like this can really make you overwhelmed, like which should I paint first? And some are small, some are big. You can see how this whole composition is. There is a very big shape, which is obviously because of the shape is like the center of attraction. And we are going to try to make this pumpkin as the hero. And there are some supporting elements here. There are some flowers, there's some squashes, and some nice different textures of this basket that is really almost like supporting these heavy pumpkins together, right? So we're going to keep that in mind that this is our hero, and these are all the supporting elements, and they cannot compete with the pumpkin. That's something we're going to keep in mind. You can see how this whole thing is structured. Like there are two small squashes, there's a basket, there's some flowers, there's some interplay of colors that are going, and there's some repetition of colors as well. Like you see, the yellows are popping everywhere. That really gives this painting, this whole picture, like a harmonious look or like the uniformity. When we look, we just feel that it's everywhere, and that is very pleasing to the eyes. And that's why I picked this whole picture, because it's just so pleasing to the eyes, the way it's been arranged and how these pumpkins are nestled in the basket. Uh, but if you see, there are so many yellows and so many oranges, it can be confusing sometimes. So I always keep this black and white picture to understand, like, how should I go about this painting. I know this, we're not doing this one, but if you see the basket, this is like a really lighter squash, and this is really dark, but the background, the shadow areas are really dark here. So we're going to keep that in mind, like where the dark areas are, so these pumpkins can pop up. Okay, that's very, very important to keep those shadows dark and keep these lighter areas light. Okay, and as we paint, I'm going to show how to start. Usually I start from light to dark, which is the easiest way to keep adding layers. That's something we're going to continue to. Lastly, I'm going to show you a few techniques of what we're going to use so that you get a refresher of how we're going to approach. I know some of you already know it, some of you are very new and them are painting. So when I say I'm going to paint something light, what does that mean? Let me show you a few things here. I'm going to just take a single color, okay? And this is called a value, okay? A really lighter value. I'm going to take more water and less paint, okay? And I'm going to call this as T. Then I'm going to take more paint, little more paint and water. And then I'm going to call this coffee. Then I'm going to take some more paint. I'm going to call it as milk, your full fat milk, not your fat free milk. Then I'm going to take a little more paint and less water. And I'm going to call this as cream. And the last, I'm going to take away most of the water from my brush, take like a nice thick paint, and call this as butter. So these are the different values or the consistencies that we are going to use to paint anything, anything. Because I know it's very hard to understand how much water should I pick. So when I say if you have to paint tea-like consistency, you're going to use more water. When I'm going to say it's really thick and dark paint and you use less water, you're going to use something like cream or butter where there is less water and more paint. So this is very important for a beginner to understand how to load your brush, right? The other thing, two techniques I'm going to show is, one is wet on dry. I'm going to take some paint here, just paint. This is called wet on dry, which means the paper was dry, and the paint is wet. Then I'm going to take just plain water, wet this, then add some paint on it. You see, it did not leave any edges. This is wet on wet. Lastly, I'm going to take a very, very dry brush, take away almost all the water, and take some thick paint. And you can hear the noise here, and some strokes, dry strokes. So this is called dry, dry on dry. The paper is dry and the paint is dry. So we're going to use all these techniques in today's painting. Okay. Colors. What colors are we going to use? Very self-explanatory. Whatever you have in your palette, use that. Don't worry if nothing matches of the way I'm painting. It's okay. Your values are more important than the colors you choose. So we're going to use yellows, oranges, some darker yellows, some siennas like ochre or burnt sienna, some raw siennas, some browns, dark browns, some greens. Okay, and also I'm going to use some blues here, okay, to balance it all out. So some reds as well here to give these shadow areas. Okay, so colors are very simple, and I'll show you how to mix some of them. Most important is your drawing has to be just simple. And once we start painting, you'll see how to approach small sections at a time. Okay, so let's get started with the paints. I got my colors here. You can see there are some lighter yellows, some sienna. Let me do some raw sienna. And some blues. I'm using all artist grade paints and papers. It really changes the quality of your paintings. So in future, if you're planning to continue more watercolors, definitely invest in good paint and paper. And I can send you a list of those professional grade paints and papers, and you can buy them. So just send me an email later and I'll send it to you. So let's get started. I'm going to start with this yellow. It's almost like a lemon yellow. Okay. And I'm going to keep it light because remember, it is the lightest squash or the shape or the pumpkin, whatever you want to call it. In my world, in the watercolors world, or I would say in the art world, if you see things in the form of shape, you're better off because then you don't have to worry about how that shape looks like. Whatever you want to call it, but it's a shape and it's just easy to refer it. So I'm going to just add some color here. Then I'm going to take a little bit of raw sienna. It's already wet. So I'm going to make some advantage here, take advantage. And while it's wet, I'm going to paint some wet raw sienna here. Notice everything is very light. Okay. Next, we can move on to the next one. Okay. Same colors, a little more darker, which means I'm going to use more paint here. I'm also going to use another yellow here. Okay. So same way, I'm going to start with a very tea consistency of this yellow, lemon yellow kind of paint. Notice for bigger shapes, I'm using bigger brushes. It just makes it easy to paint. Your paint flows better, and you don't have to keep reaching to your palette again and again to grab more paint. While it is wet, I'm going to continue and add some burnt sienna, raw sienna. It's almost like an ochre kind of uh, paint, like a very dirty yellow, you can say. But these are nice fall colors. I'm going to leave this as it is. Remember, we're going to come back and add more layers, okay? This area is not done, but we got get started and get some undertone colors here. Next, again, what are the other lighter elements? Ooh, these beautiful flowers here, okay? Remember, even the flowers here, they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5. Now you have to make sure that they look different. So I'm going to add a little variation. When I paint these yellows, I'm going to add a little bit of tiny tints of orange or some darker yellows so that they look different. You cannot make everything look same because then they start to look flat. So that's very important when you paint similar objects. You have to give some variation. Okay. I'm going to take same yellows. Okay. Continue again. Those beautiful yellows. Keep it light, keep almost like something between tea and coffee consistency. Not too dark because the other areas are really dark and you need more paint there. It's okay if your painting doesn't look like mine. It's very important that you understand that we're all different. We're all different artists. And the primary goal is to actually enjoy uh, your creativity, your individuality, and not be able to paint like me. This happens a lot, I think, when you're starting out new and you feel like, oh, it's not like her. It's not going to be like what I paint. I am different, you're different. Your choice of colors and the way you paint, your style is different. So it's okay. I'm going to take a little bit of orange here and add in the bottom areas here. While this is wet, I'm going to use some of this yellow and orange mix. give it a little variation. Mix a little bit of red in it just to make it a little darker orange or red. You can mix yellow and orange makes red. I'm going to take a little bit of red here, add some tiny bits here because it's wet. See, whenever you need something to feel soft, then you do the wet on wet technique because you need those soft areas and not those harder areas that gives those edges. So some areas here and there. Just make sure that the flowers are different from each other. That's all. I know right now the painting looks odd, just some splashes of colors, nothing coming together, just random shapes. You don't know what's going on. It's okay. We barely started painting, and slowly things will fall into shape. Everything comes together. There's a reason why I approach these places small spaces at a time. It not only gives you control, it makes you actually think about how these shapes are related with each other. Okay. So it's very important. Take your time. If you are a new painter, someone who has just started in watercolors or any medium, tackle it in small chunks. It will always give you more control and you will feel in control of your own artwork. Okay. How do we conquer this big pumpkin here? Yeah. Concept is going to be same. I'm going to start some layers of yellow and different 2 or 3 yellows and some orange. But because this is a big piece, I'm going to first mix the colors on the palette. Then I'm going to put some plain water so that everything just flows together. Okay, so let's mix our colors first. First, I'm going to just wet this off. Basically, I'm just taking plain water and just making nice puddle here, wiping my brush off, making another puddle here. Because when we start painting this big shape, we have to do it a little faster. Some orange puddle. You don't have a big puddle, as long as the colors are charged, which is like they're wet and juicy. Okay. Some reds here as well. And you can see even on the side, there are some browns. So we can also add that a little bit. Okay. Okay. I am going to take my wet brush and just go from top to bottom. On the top rim, I'm leaving some empty space. Basically, I'm not adding any water. I don't want any paint there because the light is hitting there. And how do you paint white in watercolors? You just don't paint anything. You just leave it as it is. The white sheet of your paper is the white paint in watercolors. You can use white paint, but only if it's very little. Usually, people don't use it. Your white sheet is the white of your paper. I'm going to wet it very well. Maybe go back and forth a little bit, because what happens is when you trying to wet a bigger area, you end up seeing that the first areas are dry now. So maybe you have to go a little back and forth again to put some more water here. Okay. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start with this. Then this darker scent paint. Because this area was so wet, the colors are just flowing automatically wherever there is water. Okay. While this is wet, let's get into our oranges. Okay. Because this is wet, the colors will just flow by itself. You don't have to really use your brushes a lot. I'm just using it just to move the colors in the direction, but really not much effort is required here. Leave a few spaces here and there just to give it some variation. I'm going to take a tiny bit of red as well, because this area is super dark. And like I said, you take advantage of that wet area so that most of your painting is done without a lot of brushwork. This area, I'm going to do that thing a lot. Okay. Tiny bit of brown here while it's wet. Otherwise, we'll come back and do it. It's okay. Okay. Just cleaning up a little bit here. Okay. We'll leave this here as it is. Let it dry. This is going to take a bit of time. It's okay. We have so many areas to go ahead and paint. Next, what are we going to do? We could do either the stem here, or we could do the basket. Let's do with the stem so that when it dries, we can go at the bottom. Okay. Okay. Again, with this stem, what are the colors? We have some nice undertones of raw sienna, some orange, and some greens at the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to continue with those colors. Some raw sienna. And I'm going to leave those white areas where the light is hitting as it is. Okay. I'll use some green here. Wet on wet. Okay. Okay. Next, we can come at the bottom, okay, and do this. But before that, I think we can even do this stem here because the stem is it can dry. So same concept. I'm going to use some raw sienna and a little bit of orange in it. Okay. Leaving some areas where we don't need paint. It's the place where the light is hitting. You can also use a tiny bit of green here. I can use some brown. Okay. Uh, do this stem as well. Some raw sienna. Notice the shapes, how they're going in. The shapes are very important because that's going to give like the structure of how uh, the squash or the pumpkin looks like, right? So it's very important that you keep that shape intact. Okay. So for now, we're done on this side. What can we do next is we can, this is quite wet, so I don't want to disturb here. Um, we can actually go ahead and do some of this basket here. Okay. Now you can see how this basket looks like, or this shape looks like. It's like a zigzag zig, right? And I think the only 2 or 3 colors that I see here is like there is a base of burnt raw sienna with some dark browns mixed with a little bit of red. So I'm going to keep that base here. Okay. Let's start with the raw sienna. It's going to be, yeah, not very light, but somewhere in between. Leave some areas in between where there is no paint. In between, there are some twigs and flowers that are green and they're very light. So I'm going to make sure that I don't bother them, keep them lighter. Same on this side. You can see the reflection of the pumpkin is making it look orange. So yes, a little bit of raw sienna and some orange. Added a bit of orange here. Down. And then I can even take some brown here. Actually, we can do that later. No browns now. Okay. While the upper one is drying, we can take care of this area. Now, this looks like a basket where you can see all this soft thread-like fringes. And this is where the textures come into play. I'll show you how this will look like, how with the textures and everything. But what you need to understand is how to decode this whole shape. If you see, there are some first layers of light yellow and raw siennas. Then there's some darker layers of browns. Also, there is some tiny, if you see closely, some very dirty greens. Okay. So we're going to mix that and go slowly texture. But first, we're going to put the base, let it dry, and then take a nice dry brush, and I'll show you how to do textures. Okay. So we're going to go slowly. First, all the raw siennas and some browns. As usual, I'm going to leave all the empty spaces where there is light hitting and not painting there. You can see how I'm going like a very zigzag manner so that I can leave some empty areas with just no paint at all. Okay, this is very important. It's almost like the light is seeping in from there. Keep it light because we're going to add a lot of color, dark colors on it. As you can see, we got almost like the first layers here, and I'm going to let it dry. Okay. Next, what do we have? We have this big area to tackle as well. This is very green. Okay. So we're going to take some greens. Okay. And I'm also mix some blues to keep it, make it dark. Okay. So first, some nice greens. You can also mix some yellows and everything. Uh, Most important, this is a dark area. Okay, there are lots of shadows in between. So that's very important. I'm going to take some green here. Mix a little bit of blue because this green is too acidic. Like I don't want it to look like so acidic. A tiny bit of brown so that I tone it down. So it's almost going to look like this. Okay, like I want to tone it down because something from the tube is like this. See how acidic this is? I don't want that much of kind of green. I want it to tone down. So this is like a toned down green. You just add a bit of blue or brown. I know you look really pale right now, but we're going to add some super dark greens here, and that's when it's going to really pop up. Make sure the areas around the flowers are clean and nice, because remember, we need to pop those yellow flowers very well. So we cannot really mess those shapes there. Mm. So yeah, just a little bit of patience here. Okay. We're going to let this dry. In the meanwhile, we can go ahead and add some textures or complete these areas. Okay, this is going to dry. We could start from this pumpkin stem. Okay, some dark areas. I'm going to mix some dark brown here. I have burnt sienna. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of brown, with some blue, ultramarine blue, because I want a really nice dark brown here. This has to be brown, almost like the base here. Then I'm going to take a bit of tiny green mixed with some blue and give this as a base as well. You know, at the bottom, it's dark shadows. Those are the shadow areas. Okay. So they need to be a dark, little bit dark. Add some green here as well. Okay. So we got this area done. Next, we're going to do the same thing here. Make all these dark areas. You can add a bit of darker brown here. You can even do red. Just give it a little bit of different feel. Most important is your base here where the shadows are. This has to be dark. I'm going to take a little bit of red here and blue. Make it even more darker. Taking a little bit of yellow here to give some more dimension here. And some brown mixed with a little bit of blue. Again, to give the base. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of this nice warm yellow. Add a bit of a layer here. And a bit of orange. Tiny bit of orange again. on this end, some red. Basically, I'm trying to make those shadows here. And instead of using a brown or a black, I'm going to use nice these warm colors to make it look colorful. A little bit of brown, some shadow area here. Okay. See, things are coming into shape. Okay. I'll give you guys a minute of break so that you can catch up, and then we'll come to the other areas. Quite dry. Okay, next. I need a little more of layer of orange and yellow here. So I'm going to take first the yellow. Make it a little more darker. Some orange. Basically, I'm trying to make sure that all these squashes and pumpkins look a little different, a little varied. Okay, that's very important for it to look like natural. Otherwise, they'll all look flat and same. They are definitely of the same family, but you need to make sure that they look different. So that's my goal here. Got this here. Okay. That's done. Next, this is quite wet. I'm going to give this one more minute. In the meanwhile, we can go on the top and finish this basket, or you can see the zigzag lines. That's what I would like to call, because just easier for me to tackle it. First, I'm going to make some nice dark brown here. Mix it with some blue. Remember, this has to be thick because it's really dark. It has to be thick paint. Okay. So make sure that the paint is thick, less watery. But first, I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of raw sienna, tiny bit of blue. I'm going to go into a layer here. At the bottom. Okay. And here, I'm going to take this darker brown, and you can see that there are some points, dots, that I'm just going to mimic. There's no way to explain this, like what are they called. I'm just going to tell that they are some shapes here, zigzag shapes, and I'm going to continue to just mimic them so that they look like a, a basket, a woven basket. Okay, some dark brown again down. So we finish with this area. Same on the top. Some raw sienna and tiny bit of blue. You can see that become really dull. That's what we're going to use. You can see almost like ring circles here. Same, I'm going to mimic those bumpy areas here to make it look like it's a basket, mostly just dots up and down. Bring it down around the flower, slowly, neatly. Okay. Okay. Next, we can do this green area. You can see there are a lot of leaves here. I'm not going to get into the detail of the leaves because then it's going to be very, very detailed painting, and that can really take a lot of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep it simple by just doing one or two shapes of that painting. I'm going to take this green, mix with some same raw sienna, blue. Just change the color of the green here. Okay. I'm going to keep the small stems green here so that they look different. That will be the only challenge because these places are so small and you painting around it is a little challenge here. I'm trying to give just one or two leaves shape, not many. Take some really nice dark green here. How will I make dark green? Some blue mixed with green. I'll add a little bit of that burnt sienna because I want to tone it down a little bit. You see that? Just a few areas here to make it look like there are green leaves here. Most important thing is these areas around the flowers that are really nice and dark. You see how those flowers have started to pop? That's the magic of values. As soon as you put something light against dark or vice versa, they start to pop up. And until those darks were there, those flowers did not pop. Sorry, until those just the lights were there, the darks were not there, those flowers did not pop up. So this is how nature works. The light and dark go together, and that's when the painting pops up. You can see now slowly these have started to pop, these have started to pop, We're still not done with this. We need some shadows, and only then this will pop. Right now, this all looks like one thing because the values are same. We need to give them some variation. Okay, how will we tackle this texture? First, I'm going to start with these darker areas of brown. Do you see these dark areas? We're going to do that first. Okay, and then I'm going to do all these threads, you can say. Let's start with the dark brown. Keep it dark, more paint, less water. I'm going to mix a bit of, tiny bit of blue, but I really want it dark. We're going to continue on top. You can add tiny bit of red. It's okay. Have fun. Most importantly, keep them dark. They have to be dark, really dark. I'm going to continue to do them dark. You can see that. Feel free to add a bit of red here and there just for some fun, some variation. Okay, same. Continue the browns and maybe some darker blues. Okay. Right. We almost got some structure here. Okay. Give you guys a minute to catch up, and then we'll go around here, finish this big shape, and then come back to this textured areas. We're almost quite done with the painting. This is a bit wet. What we can do is we can do a little bit of background here. Background is a choice. You can leave it as it is or you can do it. I think I would do it today. You can do it a blue background, a purple background, a brown and blue background, doesn't matter. So this is simply completely your choice, what you want to do today. I'm going to do a blue one only because this pumpkin is orange and I'm using blue to balance the complementary colors. Complementary colors are the colors opposite to the wheel. They actually balance each other. Even though they're opposite, they actually balance each other. When you mix them, what you get is gray. So these colors are very, very important. So you can see you got a very nice balance. Look at this blue and orange. Beautiful. It's really balanced the whole thing. Okay. So we finish even that. Now we can go into this. It's quite wet. Okay. So I'm going to take some dry brush technique again here. I'm going to clean my brush quite um, dry. Very little water here, just damp. And we can pick some really nice dark reds maybe. I have this red here. You can mix with a little bit of brown maybe. And you can actually do like, this is actually not dry brush, but you can hear the sound here. You can do some dry brush to give it some texture. I'll take a little bit of brown and blue mix. Give some texture here. You can hear the sound. Give some texture. You can take even reds and oranges. I'm going to take some orange here. This will really make your painting glow. You can already see it actually on the screen that adding those textures actually made it like, oh, real. Now I can see those pumpkins very well. Yes, textures give that 3D effect that we love to see and feel. So they're very, very important. I know, and every artist is different. Not every painting has those kind of textures, but I love them and I continue to add them. I'm going to mix a little bit of red and blue, and I'm going to add it on these corners because I want some shadow areas as usual. Shadows are important. You can see they're creeping in different places. You can even take some green, some nice dark green. Even those you can add here a little bit, you can see. Okay, even here you can put some green textures. Okay. Look how the colors are all intermingling. There are yellows in every place. There are greens in almost every place. There are blues here and there overlapping. So this is making your painting very harmonious. Okay. Next, we have this last part. This textures of the basket weave. Okay. Now, there are many ways to do this. Sometimes I use different brushes to take care of this. Sometimes I use the regular brush. Let me see if I have that brush. I have this brush here. There are lots of texture brushes available that you can use. So I'm going to use one of them and you'll see how this behaves. Let me show you with one color, maybe just brown. You can see what they do. Do you see that? This is what these texture brushes do. These are great if you want to do textures, especially if you're painting um, things like fabric. So I'm going to use this tiny bit of blue mixed. I want a little darker. Okay. Keeping a dry brush. And it's a good idea to actually practice it on your paper slightly. You can even mix a little bit of green. So without doing too much work, they give you that effect. Need a little more dark. Some reason I think the color is not very good. It's okay. We can use some tiny brush. Yeah, some nice texture here. I'm also going to take a little bit of raw sienna. Give some texture. Even on the top, actually. Give some color of that feeling of basket, woven basket. And a little bit of dark areas here. I'm going to take some blue mixed with some red. A little bit of green here, because the green from the reflection from these leaves are coming here. That's why I'm putting some green here. Okay. A little bit of raw sienna here. Lastly, I'm taking a little bit of this lemon yellow, adding it on top for it to pop a little bit. So yellows usually dry a little lighter. Sometimes if you top it to give it that glow that you need in the end. Okay. But you can see that now everything has come together, and that pumpkin is still the star of the show. And how these are like acting like supporting elements. In fact, a little bit of orange here would help to stand out a little more here. So now they look a little different. Okay. You want to make sure that all these elements look a little different. Otherwise, they'll all just like compete with each other. But this star is still the pumpkin, the big, large shape is still the star of the show. So with this, I think we end this painting. But if you have any questions, do let me know, and definitely send me your paintings. I'll give you a feedback. Make sure you sign the painting. And yeah, I think you should be really proud to try a complex subject like this. Sometimes I do pick little complex subjects because I think everybody needs a little more challenge to see how things work in relationship with each other. So I hope you enjoyed this painting and continue to paint. Please continue to paint.